You know that feeling you get when you're about to give a presentation in front of a whole class and you start to feel nervous and anxious as it builds up to that presentation? That's actually your stress building up. And what that causes is it makes presentations and situations like that seem a little bit more uncomfortable, and it makes you feel less confident, and it also causes you to forget what you're going to say. It makes it harder to concentrate. So today what we're going to discuss is how to manage that stress and make situations like that seem a little bit more easier and give you a little bit more confidence, and then also make you remember how those things you're going to say. So my name is Brian Romero. These are my peers, Ali, Kenyon, Gustavo, Anissa, and Darian. And today we'll be discussing managing stress. But before we jump into managing stress and some efficient techniques to manage your stress, we should know exactly what stress is, how it works, symptoms, and how our body reacts to stress. So that way we know exactly what we're going to manage. Therefore, I'd like to give some context and let you know what stress is. So stress is the body's immediate reaction to any type of danger. It could be like a type of demand or a threat. It could be real or not. It could be like from a scary movie you saw late at night and you're going to bed now, so you start to feel that stress. Or it could be like from a lake walk to your car late at night. You just got off of work at midnight and the parking lot's a little shady. It's the body's fight or flight reaction, and what it causes is, with the fight reaction, it makes you like stand up to the stressor and get ready to fight that stressor, whereas in the flight reaction makes you run away and avoid that stressor completely. And it makes certain parts of your body work harder, and it also heightens your senses. As with the fight reaction, it prepares you, it makes you get a little stronger, it makes you feel like be able to take a little bit more damage. And with the flight, it makes you run a little quicker so you can run away from the stress a little better. And the stress could be coming from any kind of situation. It could be from something simple as a speech in front of people, or it could be from something serious as you got diagnosed with a disease and the stress starts to build up immediately. But now that we know what stress is, let's talk about some common symptoms of stress and some examples. Like, there's a large array of symptoms that come from stress, but the most common ones that I've noticed is sweating, difficulty concentrating, dry mouth, nervous habits, and also tense muscles that people tend to get. And these symptoms, they come and go as stress comes and goes as well. But stress could have some serious effects on your body emotionally and physically. And that's if you have if you're under stress a lot of times, or you're in stress for a prolonged period of time. And if you're constantly under stress, it can weaken your immune system. It can make you more susceptible to strokes. It can make you depressed or cause muscle aches, or even give you insomnia where you have trouble sleeping at night. That's why it's always handy to have a little stress object, a little stress ball, so that way you can squeeze this whenever you start to feel stressed. Mine's is a little shoe. But as you can all tell now, stress is something that's in everybody's lives. Everybody's had a run-in with stress, as you guys can all recall now from a past event you've had or past presentation you had, and you start to feel these symptoms start to build up. That's just stress coming along. And stress comes in all shapes and sizes, and it doesn't have any favorites. Stress attacks everybody. So that's why we will now discuss how to manage your stress, since now we know what stress is and how it works. And Alicia will get us started with some effective tactics to manage your stress.
Thank you, Brian, for the great introduction. My name is Ali Truckin. Since there are many aspects and layers of our daily lives, ranging from work responsibilities, school responsibilities, health issues, family emergencies, and honestly just having too much on our plates, it's very easy to become overwhelmed and to experience multiple symptoms of stress. The first step to overcoming stress is to be aware of the symptoms, which Brian had explained before. Today, we're going to cover some tactics that have been proven to help people effectively manage their stress. The first method that we're going to talk about is getting away from the environment that's causing feelings of anxiety and spending time outdoors in nature. It's been proven that spending time outdoors helps to activate our body's parasympathetic nervous system, which is also known as the rest and digest system. Being in nature helps to restore our body's circadian rhythm, which is also known as our body's internal clock. For example, if you're outside once the sun starts to set, your brain starts to naturally produce melatonin, which makes us feel tired. Also, exercising outdoors connects your body to your mind, and people have reported that it makes them feel more grounded. Exercising is a well-known method to manage stress because it helps our bodies release natural endorphins that promote wellfulness and happiness. Having a healthy sleep schedule is another important factor to reducing stress levels in many different ways, which Gustavo will cover in greater detail. Getting enough sleep helps to keep us alert and it strengthens our memory, which is very crucial in our busy and somewhat hectic lives. Besides these effective methods, there's a large array of common methods that have helped people manage their stress. The most common one is to take deep breaths and to focus on something positive. A couple of more methods are having a positive attitude, talking with somebody close, avoiding the stressor, and one thing that we all do on our daily commutes is listening to the music that we love. One of the most effective methods for me when I start to feel stressed out is yoga and meditation. Like exercise, yoga and meditation helps me to remember to slow down my thoughts and to focus on my breath. And honestly, it's difficult balancing work full time, school full time, finding time for friends, and trying to find time for sleep. So those methods have been really effective in helping me manage my stress. Now that we've covered some of the different methods that help people, I'm going to pass it along to Kenyon, and he's going to cover the tactics that help him the most.
Thank you, Allie, for kicking us off with the first tactic to help manage stress. While there are many ways I manage my stress, there are a few strategies that efficiently help eliminate that stress, and even fewer strategies that are always available to practice. Today, I'm going to introduce you to what works best for me when managing stressful situations or stressful environments. When I am stressed, I prefer to go out of town or to a lookout point to get away from the busyness of the city. One of my absolute favorite places is in the Angeles National Forest, which is just a short 25-minute drive from me and provides an amazing view of the city even above all that LA smog. The alternative option I often take is going out to Malibu, where there's no sign of city life whatsoever, whether it's the city lights or the sound of traffic. Once I make it out to one of these points, however, there are several strategies I can practice to get my mind off of things. To start, I can simply do nothing. I am always on the move with work and school and going out with friends, that being able to get away from everything and literally do nothing can be one of the best feelings in the world. Something similar is to lay down and look at the stars, which essentially is also nothing, but it also allows me to get deep in thought, like being in the shower, and enjoy the landscape of Malibu around me. However, what I usually choose to do out of all of my options is to get my camera and tripod out from my trunk and take some pictures or even some time-lapse videos. Being a photographer, this thoroughly calms me down, as it's something I really enjoy doing, and not being required to do it makes it all that more enjoyable. Once my camera is up and running, I'm able to practice a hobby and still watch the stars. Getting out and taking a breather can be immensely positive on one's health. Consistently being stressed can take a toll on the body and the mind, whether it's from deadlines or rush hour traffic or even just general stress. Not having anything to worry or to think about can be a major win for the body, and being out in places where no stress is possible may be a good idea. Especially in the environment we're in with all the apps and connectivity we have, getting away from the stress of life can have long-lasting, positive effects on the body and the mind. While stress can be managed in various ways, putting oneself in an environment where no stress is possible may be the best solution for a lot of us. In environments such as these, we are unable to be distracted by our phones where there's no cell service, and not having to worry about those around us. Sometimes when I'm stressed, however, I choose to use a stress ball. When I'm at work with Starbucks, sometimes I get really stressed out with certain customers. If they're being difficult or kind of hard to work with, I choose to use a stress ball, and when I squeeze it, it makes me feel a lot better to kind of get out some of that stress and not have to take it out on those around me. Now I'll hand it off to Gustavo to inform us about an additional efficient tactic we can use to manage stress.
Thank you, Kenyon, for informing us on ways our environment can manifest stress. Here's my stress ball, and I love to squeeze this one because it has nice little ridges that allows me to release tension as well at the same time as releasing stress. Now I will talk about an activity that we all perform daily that can have a great impact on the amount of stress that accumulates in our daily lives. That activity is sleeping. It is a necessary human function that allows our bodies to restore and brains to recharge. I will explain the things that sleep can affect, the sleep stress cycle, and some tools we can use to improve our sleeping routine. Join me as we find ways to improve our sleep and gain control over some of these stressors. Lack of sleep can have a big effect on different aspects of our life that we may not realize until it is way too late. Sleep can have an effect on our memory. It can prevent us from recalling information that we learned. This is crucial for us students. Our judgment can also be impaired by our lack of sleep. Our thought process slows down, and it's difficult for us to focus our attention and make smart choices. When our bodies are deprived of sleep, we can experience mood swings, small things that trigger our stressors, and then we have emotional outbursts that affect us and those around us. Now that we've covered base on a few of the effects sleep can have on our mind, now let's review the sleep stress cycle that many of us fall victim to. This cycle has a circular pattern that repeats itself over and over and over again. Because of our lack of sleep keeps us stressed and alert. Stress keeps us alert and awake, and thus we are restless during bedtime, and many believe that they have insomnia, but in fact they're just caught in the sleep stress cycle. Finding a sleep rhythm to break the cycle is essential. It can help us find balance and reduce our stressors. Now we're going to discuss some of the tools that we can use to improve the quality of our sleep. In this day and age, it's easier to track our sleep because we have Fitbits, Apple Watches, our smartphones have tons of apps that also make it easy to remind us when our bedtime should be in order to get at least 8 hours of sleep. One app that I personally love to use is Sleepwatch. It works simultaneously with my Apple Watch and will track the number of hours that I sleep, and it'll tell me what percentage of my overall sleep was restful. This is when the body restores itself. Another way great to improve our sleep is to turn off all our electronic devices about an hour before bed. This will allow us to get into a more restful state. So grab your cell phone, do not take it with you to your bedroom, leave it in the living room, leave it somewhere else. Just zone out. We've learned that the quality of our sleep plays a big factor in the way that stress affects our life. We have a lot of power when it comes to prioritizing our sleep over other tasks in order to stop the stress-sleep cycle from dominating our life. It's time we tackle these obstacles and reduce stress from our lives. Now let's try and good night's sleep. Put that phone away, put all your electronics away. But first, let's hear from my colleague Anissa and how she uses exercise and healthy eating habits to de-stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo, for explaining how important sleep is when it comes to stress management. My name is Anissa, and as you can see, there are many ways to help people manage their stress. Stress is a part of life, so I believe that learning how to manage stress is essential. How we respond to stress really does make a difference on our mental and physical health. And I believe that when your body feels good, so does your mind. So today, I am going to introduce to you the importance of healthy eating and exercise and how it helps with stress management. I am sure many people have heard the term that food is medicine, and there is actually a lot of truth behind that statement. The food that we put into our bodies has the ability to make our stress levels rise or come down. We have hormones in the body that naturally fight stress, and when we eat certain healthy foods, it actually helps increase that stress-fighting hormone. But when we eat unhealthy foods, it does the exact opposite and can actually make our stress levels rise. When it comes to exercising, I feel that exercising is not only good for our bodies, but it is good for our mental fitness as well. Physical activity increases the blood flow and helps our body's ability to use oxygen. And both of these changes directly affect our brain. Exercising produces endorphins, and endorphins are chemicals in the brain that act as natural painkillers, and endorphins can also help our ability to sleep. And lastly, when you put healthy eating and exercise together, I feel like our bodies will begin to feel the benefits. There are many ways that we can implement these two changes into our life. many people don't feel like, I feel like many people don't even feel like they're capable of working out, but exercising doesn't always have to be strenuous workouts. It can be very simple. There are breathing techniques, or breathing are actually considered a form of exercise. So there are many ways that we can get our exercise in, whether it's stretching or swimming or jogging or just going for a walk. When it comes to healthy eating, there are many foods that are considered stress-fighting foods. Some of those include avocados, salmon, oatmeal, and even dark chocolate. I feel like sometimes people don't even know where to start when it comes to healthy eating and exercise, so sometimes it just takes getting educated to implement those changes into our lives. As I said before, being mindful of the food that we eat and exercising a couple times a week really has its benefits. Stress is impossible to completely take out of our lives, so it is important that we learn different tactics on managing our stress. To conclude our presentation, Darian will summarize what we learned today.
Thank you, Anissa. And as she said, my name's Darian. No matter where the stress stems from in your life or which of the symptoms that my classmate Brian described that you display, stress touches everyone. Don't let it fool you. And as my classmates briefly covered, there are a multitude of ways out there for you to cope with the stress in your life. If you're like my classmates Kenyon and Gustavo, then perhaps taking a step back or away is how you'll relieve the stress. Remember, Kenyon not only takes a drive or a trip to get away, he also recognizes his mind's need to be still and will go alone. He takes a moment to really relax and connect with his inner self. Meanwhile, Gustavo also recognizes his body's need to be still, but he chooses to focus on rest and sleep in order to channel and overcome the stress in his life. A good 8 hours of sleep is always a good idea. It will help you stay rested, relaxed, and keep a little bit of your sanity. Or maybe you're more like my classmate Anissa, who focuses on healthy eating and good exercise to cope with the stress in her life. As you'll recall, eating healthy foods helps you build or produce healthy hormones, stress-fighting hormones, that will help you fight the stress in your life. Not only is it important to give your body the healthy foods that it needs to produce those stress-fighting hormones, it's also extremely important to focus on not bringing any other bad or negative foods into your body so that it doesn't strip the healthy hormones away. It's no good producing healthy hormones if you're just going to take them all away, right? Another thing Anissa chooses to focus on is a good exercise. Exercising helps you release the frustrations. Go kick a punching bag or punch a punching bag. I'm sure it'll help. I personally use a combination of all of the methods described above. I recognize my body's need for a little alone time, and I try to schedule a bubble bath once a month after my kids go to sleep, of course, where I sit there in silence for a good half hour, or more if the water will stay warm long enough. Another thing that I do is I try to walk on my lunch breaks at work. So where I work, there's a big hill, you can walk up and down, and a lot of people do it in order to get their exercise in for the day. I work at an office job, so for me it's very important to get moving, and it definitely helps with relieving the stress in my life. Stress management is important for many reasons, but the number one is a healthy you. Remember that stress can lead to various symptoms which can become quite severe. No matter which of my classmates' tactics you choose to follow, whether it be sleep and rest, relaxation, a good adventure or a trip to get away, a hardcore workout, or maybe just some fruit and veggies, it's important for you to counteract that stress. A healthy you is a great you. So remember, be the best you can be and relieve the stress in your life.